In here a little slowly, we'll begin with a prayer, so if you'll all bow your heads and join with me. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business for our co-op. We seek blessings on the meeting we are about to conduct, guide our leaders with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work in clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. Thank you for being a source for our guidance today, and we thank you for a safety and bounty into the next growing season. In your name we pray, amen. Welcome to the 105th Annual Garden City Co-op Inc. Stockholders Meeting. Today we will update you on the business of your cooperative, share our financial and audit results. We will then hold a director elections, which is the most important role you as members have today. We will then plan to present a proposed articles and bylaws updates for you all to vote on. We appreciate your participation today, and we hope you enjoy the meeting. The Garden City Co-op Inc. bylaws require a quorum of 5% of the voting membership or 50 of the members entitled to vote, whichever is less. Today, we have 180 members registered this afternoon, and I declare a quorum is present. The official notice of the annual meeting for the common stockholders of the Garden City Co-op Inc. was mailed on November 7th, 2024, in accordance with the bylaws. I have a certification from the Salina, Kansas Post Office that 1,390 official notices were mailed on that date. The minutes of the 2023 annual meeting were provided with the official notice on the Garden City Co-op Inc. website. I would ask that the minutes be approved as provided. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. With no objections or corrections, the minutes will be approved. Now, we will take time to introduce and recognize past board members. Any past board members in the crowd, please stand. Thank you. And past general managers. I know we see one out there. Harley. Thank you. At this time, I will introduce you to your board of directors. Starting off as our vice chair is Gordon Drees. His wife is Kelly. You'll hear from her later. Then we have Clayton Maddox as our secretary, his wife Sarah. Chris Fulmer is our assistant secretary, and his wife Dowie. Then we have Joanna Schmeckley and her husband, Brian. Then we have Kyle Deaver, his wife Alicia. Dylan Lindenberger, his wife Sarah. Then we have associate directors, Zion Roth, his wife Hannah. You'll hear from Zion later today. Then we have Shane Browning and his wife Kaylin. Jeff Harold and his wife Kathy. Then our new associate members, we have Garrett Rail and his wife Adrian. And then I'm Tyler Hands, and my wife Amanda is also a new associate member. So thank you.
I'd like to take a little bit of time here now. We'll recognize the special guests in attendance with us today. First off, we have Eric Steinley with Martindale Swearer Law Firm, General Counsel. Nick Muting with Lindbergh Vogel Pierce Ferris, auditing firm. Billy Wickman and Brandon White from Frontier Ag. Philip Kelly, a leadership coach for us from Purpose Driven Coaching. Kevin Royer from Midland Marketing of Hayes, Kansas. Chris Irvin with Bayer. Scott Anderson with Pro Value Insurance, our insurance agency. Kendall Poland with Sublette Cooperative. Mark Kogan with CoBank. And then also Jordan Dawson with Commerce Bank. So thank you for your attendance today. I'll invite Kelly Drees up for the CFO report.
Good afternoon. Thank you for attending the 2024 annual meeting of the Garden City Co-op, Inc. As you walked in, you should have received a packet containing a raffle ticket, a ballot, the statement of operations, and the balance sheet. I would like to focus your attention to the statement of operations. We completed our annual audit for the fiscal year spanning September 1st, 2023 through August 31st of 2024. Grain sales increased by approximately 2% compared to the prior year, while supply sales declined by 5% and commercial and wholesale sales dropped by 14%. Despite these shifts, overall gross margins saw a significant increase, rising by $9 million, an impressive 64% over the previous year. Other income grew by $1.6 million, largely driven by increased storage and handling revenue as higher patronage dividends. However, we experienced a $1 million decline in investment and miscellaneous income. CHS had an outstanding year, distributing $5.2 million in patronage dividends, up from $3.2 million from the previous year, and redeeming $5.9 million in equity. These stronger gross margins and higher other income contributed to $10.8 million in additional gross savings compared to the prior year, reflecting a robust year of performance. Our personnel and costs increased by $850,000, primarily due to the addition of 2 new locations and efforts to retain top talent. Fixed expenses rose by $2.7 million compared to last year. As you may recall from the previous year, we had an interest rate swap gain of $3 million that offset interest expense. This year, we faced rising interest rates, but with fewer bushels in our trade territory and decreasing supply costs, our operating line usage remained relatively low, resulting in lower interest costs than in prior years. Other expenses increased by approximately $1 million, with the majority contributed to higher freight costs associated with transferring grain to the new shuttle loader facility. On a positive note, property taxes decreased by $420,000, driven by changes in the Kansas Department of Revenue grain elevator property valuations. Thanks to your incredible support, we proudly gave back close to $100,000 to local organizations through our REACH program. The funding benefited groups like local 4-H chapters, the Kansas Food Bank, the Garden City Community College, and numerous other organizations across 27 counties. Additionally, over the past year, we reached nearly 3,000 students, providing education on agriculture and the cooperative model, key steps in our commitment to fostering the next generation of agricultural talent and strengthening the agricultural workforce pipeline. Overall for the year, we ended with net savings of $4.2 million, which is $6 million higher than the year before. Sorry, I forgot my. There we go. In grain. At the start of the year, we were optimistic that our trade territory would emerge from the drought, leading to larger grain receipts. Unfortunately, severe hailstorms devastated significant portions of crops in our region, creating yet another challenging year for our grain team. We did see 11 million bushel increase compared to the prior year. However, we still fell 9 million bushels short of an average year, which made it difficult to offset the rising personnel and operating costs. The shuttle loader project was not fully completed by fiscal year end, but we were able to run a successful test train before the close of the year. I'm pleased to share that the facility is now fully operational, enabling your cooperative to expand both imports and exports as market opportunities arise. While adding a facility of this size and scope presents short-term challenges for this division's bottom line, it is a significant long-term asset that will enhance our financial strength and bring lasting benefits to our community. We want to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the customers and employees who joined us at the open house this past August to celebrate this milestone. Your support is invaluable as we continue building a stronger future together. In agronomy. The past 2 years in agronomy were marked by significant supply shortages, which drove up prices for our customers. This year, however, was comparatively stable, allowing us to refocus on meeting customer needs. Liquid fertilizer sales doubled compared to the previous year as customers shifted back from the dry fertilizer trend due to more competitive pricing. And hydro sales also grew by 25%, with stronger margins contributing to improved performance. The addition of the Hooker location has further boosted sales, and we are continuously exploring new ways to enhance service not only at this location, but across our entire trade territory. Additionally, the agronomy team has begun the important task of selecting a new software system to streamline operations, improve efficiency, and elevate the level of support we provide to our customers. In energy, this year has been both exciting and challenging for the energy department. The team remains committed to driving efficiency and is actively transitioning to a comprehensive software solution that will streamline operations and support seamless growth. To strengthen customer relationships, the department is expanding its sales force to further enhance our service capabilities. The Scott City Terminal faced ongoing supply challenges, underscoring the critical importance of our storage capacity to ensure we meet the customer demands during peak periods. Despite these hurdles, the department achieved a 16% increase in oil sales compared to the previous year, and the addition of the Hooker facility contributed to an additional $2 million in sales to this division. Through our partnership with CHS, we were also able to upgrade the Hooker location's fuel pumps, demonstrating the value of strong collaboration and financial support. These improvements not only reflect our commitment to growth, but also highlight our dedication to delivering quality service to our customers. Now let's turn to the balance sheet located on the back of your statement of operations. We continue to focus on managing our balance sheet to maintain liquidity, service our debt, and retire equity when financially feasible. Over the past few years, we have stretched our working capital to fund major projects, including the construction of the new shell loader facility and the expansion of our trade territory. Beyond the River Valley facility, we invested $2.5 million in facility and equipment improvements, with $1 million allocated to enhancing the Hooker location to boost export capabilities and repair storage facilities. Additionally, we paid $2.9 million in long-term debt, including fully retiring the note for the Plymouth location. While retiring equity remains a priority, the Board of Directors has chosen not to distribute an equity redemption this year to safeguard our working capital. However, we have continued to process equity retirements for estates and inactive accounts throughout the year. Over the past 6 years, we have averaged $740,000 annually in redemptions versus the $600,000 annual average from the previous 6 years. This reflects our ongoing commitment to returning value to our members while balancing the financial needs of the cooperative. In regards to patronage in Section 199AG DPAD, the Board of Directors has elected to distribute $2.4 million of patronage back to the members. This equates to 7 cents per hundredweight on grain, 12% on storage, 1% on crop production purchases, 6% return on petroleum ag producer purchases, and 0.75% on commercial petroleum purchases. 40%, or $974,000, of this distribution is in cash. The other 60% is a non-qualified notice of allocation. This benefit of this type of allocation is a member will not pay taxes on this portion until it is redeemed. The board plans to retire this equity just as they do the qualified equity. Further details of this equity will be communicated with your patronage check this spring. The Board of Directors has also elected to pass through $2.7 million of the Section 199AG amount back to our members. The breakdown is $1.8 million for grain and $900,000 for crop production. This equates to a rate of 15.93 cents per hundredweight for grain and 1.89% for crop production purchases. We are grateful for the year we had, and as we look forward, we know this next year will bring its own challenges as fall crop volumes are still lower than an average year. We continue to face inflation and interest rate increases, all while trying to continue to grow the business and connect our farmers to the world. We appreciate your business, and hope that all of you have a safe and bountiful harvest this next year. I would now like to invite Nick Muting, our auditor from Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, and Ferris, to present on our audit opinion.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Muting, and I'm the lead independent auditor on the Garden City Co-op audit. I'm also the managing shareholder of the auditing firm Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, Ferris. I like to tell people we have roots in auditing cooperatives in Kansas since the 1940s. As independent auditors, we have the responsibility to express an opinion on the fair presentation of your financial statements in accordance with accounting principles accepted in the United States. Our audit standards also require that we perform the audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatements. Our opinion is based on audit procedures including evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used, reasonableness of significant estimates of management, and evaluating overall presentation. Now, please understand that a considerable amount of time is spent discussing our findings and recommendations with management, the board of directors, and employees of the co-op. All are very interested in understanding your financials and other co-op specific financial information. You have a very solid, what us auditors would like to call tone at the top with regard to your financial statements. So again this year, we're providing an unmodified, sometimes referred to as a clean opinion on the financial statements. Please keep in mind that the financial statements presented during the meeting on the PowerPoint are derived from, but are not in the exact same presentation as those that we audit. What you did receive in your packet is a balance sheet and income statement as noted at the bottom. It does not include all of the required disclosures. On behalf of Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, Ferris, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be your independent auditor. Thank you.
"14 years. Seems like a lifetime ago that I received a phone call from then Chairman Boyd Lear asking me to be an associate board member for our co-op. After speaking with my family and my wife, I made the decision that changed my life and started me on this incredible journey. If you would have told me 14 years ago, as a board, we would build 2 greenfield elevators, a new agronomy location, expand Lowe, hire a new CEO, merge with an Oklahoma cooperative, and build a train loader all in that time frame, I would have shrugged it off thinking there's no way. But here we are. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all, the member owners, for believing in me to serve you all in this capacity over my tenure. I'd like to thank my wife Amanda for allowing me to chase this dream, for serving you all as so many of my other family members have. Thank you for sacrificing your time so I can be away at meetings representing the co-op. Thank you to my family and to the Triangle H crew for allowing me to be away from the farm and for picking up my slack while I'm away. Lastly, I'd like to thank this amazing board and staff. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve beside you these last several years, and it has been a humbling experience to serve as your chairman for the last 7. After orientation for the associates, they're told just soak up as much information as you can and try to stay afloat while you drink from a fire hose. Safe to say, that was true for me, and I haven't found anybody that would disagree with that statement. I was honored to serve in several roles while on the board, and each gave me a better understanding of the cooperative, its system, but just business in general as well. To say I feel like I've gained more than I gave back over this time is an understatement. I did some quick math. I've served 1/3 of my life on this co-op board. There's a saying that goes, treat a man as he is, and he will stay as he is. Treat a man as he could be, and he will become what he should be. My first year as chairman was one I'll never forget. My family had suffered a major loss in the death of my dad, who was my role model and my best friend. At our planning retreat, 2 months into my new role, we began the process of finding our next CEO. This is the most important job we as a board have. One not to take lightly, and one at the start proved to be a daunting task. For me, trying to navigate the waters of my family farm without my dad, all while trying to steer this group of individuals through the waters of finding a person who would shape the future of this cooperative, and it was proving to be overwhelming at times. I can vividly remember talks that I had with my family and some members on this board today that helped me wake up each and every morning ready to work, no matter if it was on the farm or in the boardroom. Just as my family has set me up to succeed in farming, past board members, staff, and general managers have set GCC up for success. Fast forward to today, and I am confident in the job that this board has done and in the job that Jeff and his staff are doing to lead this business into a future that is stronger than ever. GCC is strong, and it's something that while we are not the biggest cooperative out there, we are a strong group that many others look to. This is something you all, as member owners, should be proud of. I've cherished my time here as a board member for your co-op, and I want you all to know the unique role you've played in my life. I can't begin to tell you how strongly my family believes in the cooperative system and how proud we are to be a part of this co-op. This experience has not only taught me a great deal, it's introduced me to so many people, that both locally and nationally, that will be lifelong friends. Now, I'm not a Broncos fan, but I love what retired quarterback Peyton Manning said in his retirement speech. When somebody thoroughly exhausts an experience, they can't help but revere it. Sorry. My term expires today. And yes, I revere this co-op. I revere the system and you all, the member owners. Like Manning, when asked if he will miss football, it's not necessary to ask me if I'll miss this board. Absolutely, I will. Now, I'll enjoy spending more time attending school events, hauling show calves across the state, and then getting to play Mr. Mom as Amanda begins her career in the co-op. But there is no doubt this will leave a void. I can't tell you what the future holds for any of us, and I can't help but think the ending of this chapter is it for me in terms of service. But I am reminded of a favorite Bible verse that I will leave you with today. It's Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. From the bottom of my heart, thank you and God bless.
Good afternoon, and again, welcome to your annual meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to update you on your company and conduct member business. I want to focus on what are we doing to increase your ownership value. This is to help inform and clarify for you what we are doing to be relevant for your farms and where we are allocating our resources. As you know, this company works under a cooperative ownership model. I think this model has many advantages, and one of them is you, the customer, owns this business. You are essentially doing business with each other as a peer farmer group to benefit yourself and all members. You then elect a board of directors to serve and represent you and guide this business. I appreciate that I get to work with a great board which takes their role very seriously. I also appreciate the opportunity I've had to work with Tyler as chairman as he terms off at this meeting after 14 years of service. He and I have had great communication during my time as CEO. My staff and I work with the board at every board meeting and strategy planning session to set our direction and decide how can we create value for you. Our financial, assets, and talent resources are limited. So we have to choose what we can do and what we can't do. Those are not easy decisions when we want to do it all. Those decisions are made, though, with the intention of increasing value for you, such as efficiency of our services, improved accuracy, new markets or products, better speed and space, or new technology. We cannot take advantage of every opportunity or upgrade available to us, but we are trying to utilize those limited resources the best we can for the long run. I want to congratulate you for doing business with each other and supporting your business. The cooperative model can be special if it is supported by its membership. Earlier this year, Trevor Hands conducted some interviews with some of our farmer members to gather their opinions on what GCC meant to their farms and how the cooperative model is exhibited by GCC. I want to share some of those opinions with you now. I think it helps remind us of why GCC exists and why we must continue to work together and evolve in a changing world to make sure we can continue to serve you long into the future.
Being an owner of a cooperative, you're put in collaboration with a bunch of other producers that are just like you. They're looking for the same needs. They're wanting to buy products in quantity to be able to get the best price value out of that. You're able to do everything in-house, one place, and when you're successful, they're successful.
People that don't know about co-ops in general, they're generally formed to provide a service that's not available in your area and or the environment that it's in is very cost prohibitive. The thing about the co-op is if they make money on something, you get it back on the other end in one form or another. And we found that out in spades when farmland dissolved and we lost our anhydrous. It goes to show you how important things are needed. You don't often know how those things happen until after you've lost them.
We appreciate the fact that co-op is in our community. It's a big part of our community, contributes a lot to our community, more than just what happens on our farms and ranches. Certainly, they take part in supporting community activities in all the communities that Garden City Co-op is a part of, and that is a growing number. The territory has grown so much in the last 40, 50, 60 years.
Garden City Co-op, it's a large organization, but within that large organization, there's a lot of individual people that you can establish those relationships with. And I don't think anybody ought to be scared off by the size of it. You get the local roots, the smaller aspect of it, with the economies of scale of a much larger operation to back it.
I think the negatives I've heard of a co-op is, well, it's just not how it used to be. The co-op has had to adapt, just like every other farm. So yeah, it's not what it used to be, but they can't operate in the negative. they've got to be producing and benefiting also. But in the same sense, they're using that to better our farms. They're building new infrastructure, replacing infrastructure, hiring quality employees to help us.
The relationship that we have with you guys, with fellow farmers, it's trust. I trust that you're trying your best for us as farmers to get the best price that you can. In the long run, I believe that we're ahead because you guys are here. And we trust you. That's invaluable. That's the thing that you can't put a price on.
You know, I'm not after the best price every single year. I'm after the best price I can get over a lifetime of farming. And so when you start to do averages over the course of decades, co-op's holding their own, and rightfully so.
You got to look at the big picture, and I think a lot of young guys are doing that and giving co-op a chance and realizing the value of Garden City Co-op.
As a wife of a board member, I just wish people could see everything that goes into each little decision that is made. These guys making these decisions are people, they're farmers, they're trying to do what's best for their fellow farmers. They're making these decisions for you, and they're not doing it lightheartedly.
What those individuals did back 30, 40, 50 years ago is what we're able to reap those benefits of today. And what we do today is something that our future generations are going to be able to reap and enjoy in the future as well.
I do want to thank all those members who are willing to get in front of a camera and give your testimonial. I know being interviewed is not always comfortable, but I appreciate the time that you took for us. I also want to thank Trevor as well for taking the hours of content and boiling it down to a few minutes for us today. You will most likely see more of this content on our social channels in the future. I want to go deeper into where we are investing our resources for better value for you and leveraging that cooperative model. First, our most important assets is our employee group. We have invested a lot of time, resources, and energy into our employee culture and ensuring we have the best talent to serve you in tomorrow's world while participating in a competitive and challenging labor market. Our business needs continue to evolve because you, as farmers, are changing, and our evolution is led by the expertise of our employee group. We have programs internally being conducted to develop better leaders and better strategy and process systems. We're also putting focus on work-life balance and clarity around employee performance management. This is a great employee group who is dedicated to serving you. I get to see the effort they put in to make sure you are taken care of. I would ask for all GCC employees to stand up and be recognized for your dedication to this farmer ownership group. Thank you. Next, the major project we have been working on is the River Valley Terminal. This important asset is now operational and adding flexibility in how we can market grain. This facility allows us to have additional control of our own grain logistics and access to incremental markets directly. We have shipped multiple trains through this facility to both domestic and international destination markets. Your wheat has been delivered via rail to Mexico and domestic milling markets. And your milo has now been shipped to Africa, all through a rail terminal that you wholly own. We continue to build up an internal grain truck fleet as well to move and ship grain internally and to end users. You don't always get to see the value as easily from your farm, but this allows us to manage our elevator space at harvest much more efficiently. You couple that with the ability to ship by rail ourselves, and we add millions of bushels of virtual space during harvest time. I do want to set expectations for clarity. That doesn't mean that there won't still be lines or slower elevators. We were able to just make different logistical decisions due to this facility. This facility can be very dependent on export opportunities and rail freight costs, neither of which are very favorable currently. As we see different end user behaviors, additional grain processors, irrigation declines, different cropping patterns, and larger demand for forage crops, this is all creating a large change in grain flow and directions. This terminal gives us incremental opportunities to participate in markets we would not have been able to previously on our own. Remember, we are almost always in a corn deficit geography. Corn is always being imported by truck or rail, already by others, to help feed the animals in our area. We now have that ability as well, by rail in large scale, which allows us to handle more grain volume that may not be ran through a country elevator necessarily. We also must remember that the country elevator system has a certain role in the grain supply chain. Those facilities exist to execute on harvest bushels and provide long-term storage and liquid marketing options. They are not end-user facilities with end-user bids. They have a different value, revenue, and cost structure than, say, a feedlot, mill, or ethanol plant. But they still have a place in today's grain supply chain, although with a different value. River Valley is a terminal, not a country elevator, with its own unique revenue stream and cost structure. It is designed for speed and space and export-import functions. In total, all of GCC's grain assets, though, create value for you in their own way. Since the merger of the Hooker assets, we have made a significant investment into those facilities. They had a lot of deferred maintenance needs to catch up on, safety and compliance additions, as well as functional upgrades. Since the merger, we have invested $1.2 million in all of the grain, agronomy, and energy facilities in that Hooker footprint. This does include new rail siding to continue to ship out by rail on the mainline UP, as well as air upgrades on the corn flat to allow us to take higher moisture corn during harvest. On the agronomy side, this past year, we also put the 24-hour liquid fertilizer bay into service at the Plymell facility. For those farmers that have utilized this, you can see the efficiencies it brings to your farms as well as GCC. This allows you, the farmer, to get liquid fertilizer blends on your own after appropriate training, 24 hours a day without a GCC employee present. This allows you to continue to fulfill your liquid fertilizer needs outside of our normal operating hours, helping you to stay running in the field. It also helps our labor force with better work-life balance and focus on other functions. I'm also happy to announce that 24-hour self-service capabilities are coming to the Low location later this year. I believe this will be a major benefit to that area for the liquid fertilizer needs. We also now have a See and Spray application rig within our fleet. The purpose of this is to be more efficient in the chemical products we apply to your fields using this technology. Depending on the situation, this helps potentially save on chemical costs to you by only applying certain products where weeds are present while still applying a broadcast product. I will preface that while we have set the pricing models for this type of application, it is subject to change as we learn to best understand the value we are creating and the cost structure we will incur with this technology. On the energy side, we're focusing on delivery efficiency with the assets that we have. Jeremy is focusing on developing delivery routes and remote monitoring capabilities. They've also recently acquired a bulk delivery trailer that allows us to deliver bulk oil products as well as packaged oil and DEF antifreeze all on the same delivery. This helps our efficiency, as in the past, this would have required multiple deliveries, increasing our cost to you. As an overall company, technology continues to be a priority as we try to live out our innovative core value. We are taking on projects to switch our ERP or accounting and operations software. The purpose of this is so that each department can have the best of breed software to best serve you. I also do not want one department to be held back, functionality-wise, by another department with its ability to serve you due to software. You'll see these changes over time, and such items as your statements or your invoices as we make these switches. We take these changes very seriously and want to roll them out with as little disruption as possible. I do ask, though, for some grace and patience, as this is technology. Technology is never perfect. The additional purpose of these changes is due to the importance of data. Data is critical today to make decisions. We want to be as informed and as accurate as possible to make great decisions, and that starts with great data. Data can also bring efficiency and better processes to us and to you. An example of this is the switch in the grain app. While there have been hiccups in this product outside of our control, we can see the positive effect of allowing you to market your grain 24 hours a day and eventually electronically signing contracts can have. It is also very valuable to us as it is directly integrated into our hedging system, which is critical to our risk management processes. We also need to make sure we protect your data, and we take that very seriously. We appreciate the trust you put into us for managing your information. As I mentioned, these strategic initiatives that we are focusing on take resources. Those resources are dependent on many things, but we are striving to be more in control of those functions so that we can control our own financial and strategic destiny even more. This past year, we spent almost $21 million on additional assets as well as repair and maintenance items on your facilities. This is to increase our capabilities as well as keep our existing assets functional. Your board also redeemed over $500,000 of equity through estate redemptions, as Kelly mentioned earlier. Your board has a strong desire to retire more equity, but we must manage the balance sheet appropriately and balance the reinvestment needs with the redemption needs. Your farm's success and support of your co-op determines our success and ability to continue investing in value creation opportunities for you. Imagine our capabilities if everyone found value in their co-op and supported it with their farm's volume. We work constantly to find those opportunities to add value to your farms to help this become reality. While we did not create the local earnings we had set as a goal this year, I'm still glad that the cooperative model worked. And we were able to return cash patronage to you, as well as allocate non-qualified equity. I am also pleased that the board passed through the Section 199 DPAD tax credit to you as well. This is all a result because you conducted business with each other through your co-op. We live and work in a geography that has lots of production and competitive volatility, which can lead to inconsistent earnings for us. The business model still works, though, when you work together as farmers. Congratulations again on doing business with each other. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Joanna Schmeckley to give your nominating committee report for your board of directors. Batteries, just in case.
The nominating committee met to determine qualified candidates to open board of directors positions.
The committee was chaired by myself, Joanna Schmeckley. There are 2 positions open this year. The candidates the committee places into nomination are Gordon Dries, Zion Roth, and Shane Browning. Gordon Dries currently serves as a director. Zion Roth and Shane Browning serve as associate directors. I will now call on Zion Roth for his associate director report.
Thanks, Joanna. My name's Zion Roth. I've been an associate director on the board for the last 3 years. My background, I grew up in Holcomb on a multi-generational family farm. I graduated from Hayes in 2012, and I've been back on the farm ever since. I grow many different crops with varying degrees of success, but my big takeaway the last 13 years farming is the learning never stops. So when I was asked to be an associate, I just took it as another chance to learn and grow, and I was not disappointed. I got an inside look at how the co-op goes about its day-to-day business. I also learned about trends in agriculture, not just locally, but on a global scale. 2 big events took place during my time on the board, the merger with Hooker and the construction of River Valley Terminal. And in my opinion, they made those 2 opportunities happen because they were the right opportunities at the right time. And as an associate, I did not have a vote, but was always allowed to interject. There seemed to be a real focus in the boardroom on creating longevity. And as a member that does business with all divisions of this company, I was glad to see that. As members, we want this co-op to be a partner today, but also be viable 10 to 15 years down the road. And for 3 years, I saw a group taking action to head down that path. So I just want to thank the board leadership team for letting me sit in these last few years. And I also want to thank you guys for showing me I can occasionally park the tractor for a meeting, and it's not the end of the world because I need to learn that too. So thanks.
Thank you, Zion. Everybody, I'm Clayton Maddox, your Secretary-Treasurer. Presently, we'll commence voting, but first, are there any nominations from the floor? Council Eric Steinley told me I don't need to ask 3 times, but I do need to ask. Are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing none at this time, again, we'll commence voting at this time. We have 3 candidates running for 2 board positions. As Joanna Schmickley already ran down for you guys, Shane Browning from the Ulysses area, Zion Roth from the Holcomb area, and Gordon Dries from east of Garden. Also at this time, I'd like to have Tyler Hands come up, please. We have a gift for Tyler. Tyler, on behalf of Jeff Boyd, the employee group, the board, and myself, we'd like to present you with this plaque commemorating your 14 years of service on this board for this great company. And also, Airbnb gift certificate. It's our hope that after giving us so much of Tyler's time to this company and this board, that he'll spend a little on his family as well. So, Tyler, again, thank you, and you'll be missed. It's been an honor. At this time, let's vote. If you guys don't mind passing your ballots to the aisles, we'd sure appreciate that.
While we are tabulating the vote, we'll go ahead to keep this business moving. We'll move into the business portion of our annual meeting. There is no old business, so we will open the new business, which is the changes to the bylaws. And for a more thorough explanation of that, we will have Council Eric Steinle come and present to you.
Thank you, Tyler, for pointing out that I am shorter than you are by putting this microphone way up high. Good afternoon. I'm Eric Steinle. I've had the privilege of representing your co-op and this board for over 12 years now, and I appreciate that opportunity. Over a year ago, Jeff and I started this project. He asked a very simple question, which my cooperative folks often do, said the board, as it often does, is looking at articles and bylaws. Are there any changes that you would recommend? So I undertook a project to review them in detail. I made several recommendations that went back to the board. The board brought me here this spring, and I stood at a podium like this, like you saw in the video, and the board grilled me, asked very good questions. I can echo that the board works very hard and takes these things very seriously. Some of these changes, which I think have been all mailed to you in red line form, you can see what the ultimate fruits of that labor are, but they don't take everything I say just at face value. They press me, they ask questions, ask good questions, challenge me. And anyone who's known me very long, I'm not afraid of a challenge. I'm happy to answer those questions right back and tell you what my opinion is, and I don't hold back when I give my opinion. But as a result of all of that work, the board finally came to a conclusion and adopted several of the changes and recommends them to you today. There are a number of what I would consider just stylistic or cleanup sort of changes, so I'll only address the substantive ones. The first change has to do with the section on what I call special redemption programs for equity. The articles and bylaws, and for a long time, probably more than 20 years, longer than anyone can remember, the board has adopted certain policies for redemption of equities, small equities held by farmers who are no longer in business, or who have retired or sold the farms and moved away and out of the trade territory. And one of the things, when I go through this project, there's a lot of interaction. I ask the board, I ask Jeff, what is it we are currently doing? What are the policies? What have we done over time? And then I try to compare those policies that we have, that we've adopted, sort of out of practical necessity. And then I compare them with the language of the articles and bylaws and ask the question, well, are those policies clearly allowed? So what I've tried to do is make sure, my philosophy is this: either if we don't have it written down somewhere that we have the authority to do it, we either need to change the policies and practices, or we need to change the governing documents to make it clear that we're doing the things that you, the members, have allowed us to do. So the first change is to allow the board to adopt a plan for the redemption of equities for those who have either moved out of the trade territory and or ceased doing business with the association, or who've retained a retirement age. That doesn't mean that the board is going to adopt such a plan other than the plan that they have been working from forever, but this gives the board the flexibility to adopt that written plan and prevents sort of an ad hoc redemption plan where we just decide 1 year we're going to do this and next year we're going to do that. This codifies it so we know that we have the authority to adopt a plan. That change appears both in the articles and bylaws. So, and what at the end of the day, we will ask for just an up or down vote on all of the changes. And as a result of that, in order for any of these changes to pass, it'll require a 2/3 vote of those present and voting. Let's see, so that's substantive change number one. The other substantive change although I wouldn't necessarily call this a change, but I think it deserves some explanation. One of the core co-op principles, which I'm sure all of you know and obey because you are here, you're active, you're interested in your cooperative, but in order to be a voting member, you have to do business with your cooperative. Cooperatives are to be governed by those people who do business with the cooperative. Why should someone who doesn't do business with the cooperative be allowed to vote if they're not actively engaged in doing business with their co-members, as Jeff so appropriately put it? So I have strengthened that language in Article 1 of the bylaws to reinforce the obligation of members. In order to retain your voting rights, you have to regularly patronize the cooperative, regularly do business with the cooperative. It doesn't set a standard. That's up to the board over time and in its experience to set a standard for what it means to regularly patronize. But the example that I always give is if someone comes in and buys 1 sack of dog food every year, is that enough? I would argue that that is not enough to continue to have voting rights if you're buying 1 sack of dog food every year from your cooperative. It's for people who are actively involved in the cooperative. We have also included a suspension and termination of membership section. This actually probably was in your bylaws many, many years ago. It has become, it's not a change, but it gives the board the power. If someone, for whatever reason, you have retired from farming, you've sold all your land, and you're no longer a bona fide producer of agricultural products, under the law and the Capper-Volstead Act, you are not allowed to vote. I mean, that would violate the law and would put the co-op in jeopardy of losing its limited antitrust immunity under the Capper-Volstead Act. So we have to be vigilant about ensuring that only bona fide producers hold common stock, voting stock, and have a right to vote. This makes it clear that if the board receives information that makes it look like Eric Steinley is not a bona fide producer, we can suspend voting rights to protect the co-op, give you a hearing, and then if it turns out that we're wrong and you in fact are a bona fide producer, then those voting rights are restored, but it would give us an opportunity to make sure we're policing the Capper-Volstead Act issues very carefully. That's in section 5 of the Article 1 of the bylaws. That's the purpose of that change. And again, I will tell you, I don't believe any of the changes here were board-driven. The board asked me for my opinion about what would strengthen the co-op and the board's articles and bylaws. And so these are my recommendations, which the board has then adopted, rather than the board saying, we have this problem, please fix it. So I want you to be aware of that. So if anybody's to blame, it's me. You can blame me. Again, in Section 6, Article 1, you can see, Article 2, you can see the change to allow the board the right to adopt a plan of retirement of equities. A new section that I have been recommending to all the cooperatives in the state of Kansas is on set-off. This gets a little bit complicated, but every once in a while, and again, this wasn't a problem that we had here at this co-op, but I've seen it several times, where a farmer who can't pay his or her bills, we're either in litigation with them or that farmer takes bankruptcy for whatever reason. And I'm not faulting anybody, but that's the situation. They take bankruptcy, and we want to hold on to the equity because we have a right of set-off. Have always, since this co-op existed, we had a right of set-off to keep stock and equity of someone in equal value who might owe us a debt. Let's say, for example, farmer owes co-op $50,000. Co-op has face value of stock and equity on the books of $50,000. Well, if we set that off dollar for dollar, you have all lost money because it doesn't account for the time value of the money, because since it's in equity, the co-op would use it for a period of time interest-free. And so essentially the bankrupt farmer is getting the benefit of an immediate redemption of equity when you all wouldn't get that benefit because you're going to pay your bills. Even if it takes you a little while to pay your bills, we don't have that problem with you because we're going to get paid now. And I mean, the simple way I think to think about this is, would you rather have $10,000 today? Or if I said to you, I'll give you $10,000, you can either have it today or you can have it in 10 years, but I won't pay you any interest. Which would you rather have? You'd rather have it now. Well, that's the problem in the bankruptcy. We want to be able to say, no, 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 no. $10,000 of equity is not the same as $10,000 you owe us in cash. We are going to apply a discount, and so perhaps we can recover both the equity. Let's say that as a result of some sort of discounting procedure that I would typically use Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, Ferris to put those sort of numbers together for us. We say, all right, the time value of the money is such that the equity is really only worth $40,000, so you still owe us $10,000 in bankruptcy. So maybe we get to keep the equity of $40,000, and then to protect all of you, the bankruptcy also still owes us $10,000. Now, sometimes that's we may still lose out because there's still not enough in the bankruptcy to be able to pay unsecured creditors, but we at least have a chance of recovering closer to our real value in the case of bankruptcy. So that's the purpose of that set-off provision. I've used it a couple of times, and it's been beneficial in those circumstances. The next one is in Section 9 of Article 2 of the bylaws, and that's for unclaimed property. I don't know that it's a particular problem, except on maybe a small scale at your cooperative, but from time to time, I have cooperatives that call me and say, you know, we have a whole bunch of old equity or old patronage where we sent out the checks to the people and it came back, and we can't find them. You know, we don't know where they went. Perhaps somebody died years and years ago, and there was never an estate opened, and you know, anybody that still exists is in California, and they've lost interest in the co-op and haven't been a member of the co-op for years and years and years, and we can't find anybody to cash this check. This section gives us what we've always done in the past is just on an ad hoc basis. I've said, well, let's do what we can to try to find them. And then at the end of the day, if we can't find them, we'll just add it to retained earnings. And then if somebody comes calling years later and says, you know, I found these stock certificates in Grandpa's stuff, please pay me my $1,500 that check from years and years and years ago, we'll just deal with it then. That's not a very satisfactory answer to any of my co-op clients, I will tell you. So we have developed a set of procedures, and this is not unique to your co-op. As I've been modifying articles and bylaws for the co-ops throughout the state, we have adopted this sort of a policy that says, all right, if we have unclaimed property, first of all, a claim is where it's been outstanding. We've tried to send it to them, but we've got a check here that's been sitting here for a year or more. If that's the case, then we will satisfy our obligation of trying to notify that person. We probably already have, but we will send a notice to the person who's allegedly entitled to the funds at their last known address based upon the books and records as we have it. If we don't get a response or it's unclaimed or whatever it is, we will also simultaneously publish in the newspaper in the county in which that person's last known address was that says, hey, got unclaimed property here, please contact the co-op. And then if they still don't contact us, then we can cut off that claim so that someone doesn't come back years later and say, I have these stock certificates, please give me my money. And actually, this is no different if you think about it. At the Secretary of State's office, you can go into the website and look for unclaimed property. Well, the difference is co-op stock and equity is not eligible for the unclaimed property. It's not covered by the unclaimed property law, so we don't pay it to the state. But what you don't know about the state is that if it's not claimed within a certain period of time from the state takes it and keeps it. It's called a sheet. It goes into the general coffers of the state of Kansas. So here, rather than giving it to the state of Kansas, we want to give it back to you, the members, if we can't find the person who allegedly is owed that money. My theory about that is if people care, they will care about their stock and equity. They will let us know that they've moved. They will be involved in the co-op in some way. And I think we would use this very, very sparingly, because most of the time we're going to be able to find you. But if we can't find you, then we have a policy and procedure that's set in stone, written out, that everybody understands, and we have a mechanism to deal with the problem. The other changes I would really call more stylistic or just cleanup. I will mention I've kind of reorganized the temporary directors section. We did run into an issue with the Hooker merger with how we could make a commitment to a co-op that might want to merge with us. If we wanted to expand the board, how would we deal with that? The old language was not very manageable. So now if the board decided it needed to, as a part of a merger, for example, to expand the board temporarily for up to 1 or 2 years, the board could do that as part of an agreement with a co-op to expand the board, to give them representation in order to get that merger to go through. That's just an example, but that's one of the things we do. And I've included that rather than to immediately have, after we make the appointment, a 20-day notice and a special meeting in order to get people here to vote on that. You would then have an opportunity to vote at the next, after the expiration of that temporary term, but that at least would give people some assurance that the board can make a commitment that will give you representation on the board if we go together. With that, I don't think that I have any more changes, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Questions or concerns? I don't have to say it 3 times, as you know. Hearing none, thank you very much for the opportunity to represent your cooperative. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to see so many people here today.
You are short. Thank you, Eric. With that presentation, do we have a motion on the floor? Motion to adopt. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? I'll give you one more shot. With no discussion, you have a green piece of paper. If you will circle yes or no, we will do the same as the board of directors. We will collect them, tabulate them, and get you a count back. Before we move into the next phase of the meeting, I believe the director count is made, so I'll call Clayton up to announce the results.
Congratulations to Gordon Dries and Zion Roth. They are your directors-elect. Shane Browning will continue to serve in the role of associate director for at least another year. Thank you.
While they're counting that, we'll skip into a fun part here. This is the part of the agenda where we get to recognize our employees and their years of service and tenure here at the Garden City Co-op. So I would ask for these that are receiving 5-year pins to come up first. Kelly Drees, Jesse Beasley, Blair Hoffman, Juan Castro, which I don't know if those 3 made it in today, and then Megan Finch. You got to get the shot right. So Kelly Drees, you all know she's our CFO for the Garden City Co-op. And next, Megan Finch is the credit manager for us in the main office. Next, 10 years of service to the company. We have Danny Peck, Ambrosio Estrada, Joey Keeler, Tammy Williams, Pete Riojas, Nathan Flores, Rachel Livermore, and Jenna Davis. So Ambrosio's up first. So Ambrosio is an operations specialist with us in the petroleum department. He's the one that you see a lot of times delivering our bulk oil and driving that truck. Next, Jenna Davis. Jenna is our accounting supervisor for the agronomy group, and she works out of our Dighton office. Next, Joey Keeler, one of the hardest working agronomy salespeople we have. He's in the Ulysses area. Nathan Flores, an associate grain originator out of our Ulysses office. So when you're always calling and selling your grain, a lot of times you're talking to Nathan. Next, Tammy Williams. She works out of our main office, and she is one of our grain accounting clerks. And then finally, for a 10-year pin, Rachel Livermore. Rachel's done a lot of duties with us over her 10 years, but these last few years she's been in charge of all of our grain accounting as the accounting supervisor for grain. Thanks, Rachel. Next, we have some 15 years of service. John Griffin, Abe Ham, Pedro Hernandez, Tavo Gomez, and Nathan Gonzalez. Come on, Griffin, you're up first. John Griffin is our purchasing and logistics manager within agronomy, so you can think of he manages a lot of the supply chain within our agronomy department. And then next, Tavo Gomez. He's within our maintenance department of our grain department. So when things break, he's part of that crew that fixes it. Next, I do have one 20-year pin, but I don't think he could make it today. That's Henry Miller. Henry is our elevator manager at our Alameda location. And then I have a 25-year pin to Holly Cowan. Holly came to us through the Sullivan purchase and has worked as well in many roles, but most recently she's our administrative services manager. So all of our employee and HR management is Holly. And she works out of the Ulysses office and the main office. So congratulations. And then finally, we do have one retiree to recognize today, and that is Norman Hensley. Norman could not be here today, but Norman was the manager at our Hickok elevator in our Ulysses Southern area. So congratulations to him as well in retirement. Thank you.
Still tabulating back there, so we will just move on to questions and answers. Are there any questions? Or I'll have to come up with a dad joke. And you don't want that. No questions. Seeing no questions, we'll just keep this thing going, and I'll hand it over to Gordon for the redemption of equity.
So we will now redeem 5 separate $1,000 equity redemptions. So if I call your number, please come up here after the meeting, make sure we get your name, and then you can redeem your equity at the main office. Okay. The first card is 348616. Okay. Do you know who that is? She's going to come up afterwards. The next ticket is 948543. Nine four eight 543. Okay. Yeah. 948 541. Keith. Just shake these up a little bit. 948 538. Okay. Okay. For the last ticket, 948 530. All right, that's it. All right.
Before we conclude the meeting, we'll announce the results, and with over 2/3 majority, we amended the bylaws, so thank you very much. And with that, that concludes the meeting. Thank you for attending, and have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.